Hey there, guys. This is Xavier Lee. This is JDM Overload. And I know I'm driving a Mustang right now, but it's still the JDM Overload channel. So today, I thought I would talk about my Mustang a little bit and driving in Korea while I'm stuck here in traffic. Right now, I'm in the biggest city in Korea, Seoul, Korea. It's home to, I believe, 20 or 30 million people. So it's a huge city. Lots of cars, very busy traffic. It's one of these cities where, the Koreans with the lesser driving experience don't really want to come here because you gotta know what you're doing. You gotta be tough to drive here. It's kind of difficult to get around sometimes. Just in the big cities, people don't really want to let you in, and they'll cut you off, and it gets kind of crazy sometimes, but I'm used to it. I've been here for a long time. But anyways, today I thought I'd talk about the Mustang and just what it has been like having this car here in Korea. If you're thinking about having a American muscle car here in Korea, what you're gonna expect. So I bought this car in 2016. I bought this car brand new. It's a 2016 Mustang GT. And excuse me if I pause once in a while. I'm just trying to get through traffic here. But I bought this car in Virginia. I drove it for like 4 months, something like that. I drove it to Canada, back down through New York, back to Virginia, because that's where I lived at the time. And I really liked the car, and I shipped it to Korea. So a lot of people ask me over the years, they're like, how on earth did you ship your Mustang GT to Korea? Like, how is that even possible? Like, to pass the emissions and all that. And my simple answer is I fall under a special status in Korea, and one day I'm going to get into that in specifics, but right now I fall under a special status. At that time, I still fall under that special status, which allowed me to ship my personal vehicle to Korea. And people under that same status will know what I'm talking about. When you're under that status, it allows you to have a car that may not meet their regulation standards, like their emissions and their safety standards, but you're still allowed to register it, and you get a different inspection. It's actually a pretty sweet deal, in my opinion. Kind of, some people might be kind of like how, why should they get that special status? But anyway, so right now I've had this car in country. This car has been in Korea longer than any other country it's been in, including America and Canada. I have, let's see how many miles I have on it. I have about 60,000 miles on it. And the thing is that for 4 years of driving, I mean, that's like, you have to be really going out of your way in Korea to drive that many miles. And me, I drive quite a bit every day back and forth to my job and to my residence. So that's why I've been recently putting a lot more miles on my vehicle. But normally, like, it's pretty difficult to rack up miles, just because in Korea there's, multiple ways to get transportation. There's tons of buses, subways, the SRT, the KTX, everything, subway system, city buses, highway buses. It's great. Taxis, boats. Anything you can think of. There's it's just running around the clock. Some things close late at night. Some things are running like all night, 24/7. So you don't really need a car here for most people. You can get around just fine. But there was a time where I lived in the country. Relative to Korea, it wasn't really the country, but it wasn't somewhere where, in fact, it was actually pretty easy to get access to transportation there, but it was just more convenient to have a car. Anyways, so what is it like driving a Mustang GT in Korea? It is pretty sweet, in my opinion. I mean, it's just, it's just fun to have such a unique car out here. And I'm not gonna lie, this isn't the craziest car out here. I've seen tons of Lambos and Ferraris, Korean sports cars, but it has that unique factor. Of course, I see Mustangs every day in Korea. They're not too common, but people have seen them. But they're uncommon enough where every time I drive this car, people just like stare at me. Because see, in Korea, this car is a lot more expensive, because to be able to make it legal for Korea, I'm pretty sure the manufacturers at Ford had to do different modifications to it. They had to make it different, I guess, like how to different specs to meet Korean specifications. And also on top of that, the way it works in Korea, and I'm pretty sure it's like that in America, you know, they probably try to figure out what the demand is going to be for the car, and then they only provide like those features that they think people will be interested in. So in the case of the Mustang, they do sell the EcoBoost Premium, I believe. I'll have to check on that later. I might talk about it in the description. And they sell the Mustang GT Premium, but they don't sell like a lower level Mustang. It's kind of interesting, actually. They don't sell like the base GT. Let's see, what else can I say? So because of that, because of being a premium and the additional specifications that they had to build it to, this car is pretty expensive in Korea. I believe it's around 60 to 70,000, 70 million won. So that equates to about, I want to say, let's say about $55,000, $60,000, somewhere along those lines. Way more than you would pay in America. So maybe one of the reasons that people look at it so much is it's loud. It looks very exotic to Korean eyes, and also, I mean, it's just, you know, mostly like people will owe money buy this usually, unlike the stereotype in America, which I won't get into for the Mustangs of the past. So you got that there, and you know, you just get like people like they try to race you all the time, or maybe it's my perception, but it seems like they're just interested in, you know, what this car can do, and you know, they're kind of unaware of how powerful it is, so they get surprised. I'm not saying that I race people, I'm not saying that, but if I was to accelerate kind of hard, they're definitely not expecting it, and they're definitely caught off guard. Now, one thing I can also say is, like, in fact, you know, let me get into that later. One analogy that I wanted to bring up when you're driving this car is kind of like, hey, if you guys seen, I know you have Too Fast, Too Furious with the R34. I know you're gonna hate this analogy, but that's what it reminds me of every time I drive this car. Like, it's just the R34 was like virtually unknown in, you know, America at the time, and you know, it's just ripping through the highway, and people are like, what the heck is that thing? That's how I feel like every time I drive this car. People are just like, that's so exotic, and then, like, you know, the America's like, it's just a Mustang GT, but it's very unique to them. It has the same feel as like a Skyline, similar to what a Skyline would feel like in America back in the day, before they started popping up all over the place. Another thing is that you get treated differently by businesses. So, like, there's been several times where multiple times where I've driven this car somewhere to a parking lot or to a business, and they let me park in front. They're having a little demonstration over there. If you hear them talking, you probably don't. So there's been several times where they let me park like right in front of a hotel. Like, the dude, he like, I could have went into the parking garage, but he's like, no, park here. Park right in front of the hotel, right in front of the door. I was like, what? And I was like, that's crazy. And my wife was like all freaking out. She's like, why are they doing this? And you just get special treatment, because like later when I asked, I was like, what do you think this is? And they're like, yeah, I don't know, a Maserati? And I was like, oh, so yeah, sure. Yeah, it's a Maserati. But I told them, I was like, this is just a Ford Mustang, you know. But they don't know. A lot of people didn't know what it was, so they thought regardless, that it was still pretty cool. And you got to remember, in 2016, this car had only been out for a year, so you obviously okay, this Genesis one wants to get in front of me, wants to flex on me a little bit, I guess. Oh, he said sorry. So in Korea, you probably don't really care about this, but when you flash your lights, when you put your flashers on, that's like saying, my bad, bro. So he was just like, my bad, man. So anyways, you get a lot of, I got, up until now, a lot of special treatment with this car. I haven't really ventured out too much because of this little thing called COVID-19. So I haven't driven anywhere recently, but when I did, all the time, I would get special treatment, a lot of stairs, and I'm sure people took pictures of it once in a while. And I think now, you know, they're seeing this car more often, so a good chunk of the population probably kind of knows what this is. I would guess. I would like to think so. And now here are some of the negative things about the car. One of the first ones I want to mention is that, you know, you have in Korea, and for the viewers in Korea, they can correct me if I'm wrong, but in society, like in a Confucian society, there's this thing, like, I don't know where it comes from, but the thing called haterade or haters, it just seems to be a little, it's prevalent all around the world, but it's just a little bit more obvious in Korea. So you just have people, and you know, sometimes that's perception, because people just drive a little, I guess like they're a little bit more bold in Korea with the way they drive. That's the nice way to say it, but people do try to race you all the time, and they seem to like not let you in. Kind of like if you're in a Porsche in America, they just won't let you in because they're like, oh, look at this like look at this snob, and he thinks he can do whatever he wants. Because people with exotic cars tend to, you know, feel like they don't have to follow the rules, so maybe they group you in with that. I'm trying to focus on what I'm doing here, and I'm really stuck in traffic here. So I enjoy talking when I'm stuck in traffic like this. So yeah, they just, you know, they'll cut you off sometimes on purpose. And even when I had my Firebird, I guess some people thought that piece of junk was something special. It was something special, right? It was a piece of crap. But they would cut me off. One guy cut me off, and he like smiled at me. It was like all crazy. He was like, I cut you off. Oh, what you gonna do about it? I was just like, whatever, bro. Just get on with your Hyundai Elantra or whatever you have or whatever. He was a little weird. So it's like people, like, if you do something that they perceive to be like kind of arrogant, or you're cutting them off because you think you're better, they tend to get a lot more angrier about it when they think that you're, you know, you think that you're superior or something like that. And one thing I wanted to mention too is also that haterade is like geared towards other Koreans, not me being an American. So they think I'm a Korean, which I think is very, very interesting. And then they like cut you off, or they kind of like try to, you know, just not let you in. And then they see that I'm American, and they're like, or a foreigner, and not one of them, and they're like, oh shoot, and then they'll let me in. So it's very interesting. That's how that works. Let's see, what else can I say? I think I'm going a little long here. And then the other thing is, basically, like, you know, there's all 4 seasons here, and they're kind of extreme. So like right now is rainy season, so, you know, it's just like a lot more dangerous drive here. This country is very developed, so it's like almost like driving in America, but the roads are narrow, or they're not as repaved as often. It's a little bit more slippery, so you got to be careful here. It could be kind of dangerous, you know, driving. Not too dangerous. It's like America, but it's just, you know, a little bit more hectic, I guess. Snows sometimes here in the winter, sometimes pretty heavily. So, you know, you won't be taking a Mustang anywhere in the snow. That ain't gonna happen. This is no country for Mustangs, I guess. That's how I would put it. It's not a good place to have a rear-wheel drive sports car. Oh, there's a Toyota right there. Interesting. they've been popping up, and a lot of Infinities for some reason. Even though Infinity is not very popular out here, I see a lot of those. The sky I don't know if I can call it Skyline G35. Been seeing a lot of those lately. Let's see. But yeah, overall, my whole experience here in Korea has been awesome. I enjoy having this car. There's a little bit of a car culture growing here, and I had someone ask to put my car in a music video once. I thought that was cool. There's a speed track. There's a racetrack you can go to and test your car out. I met another Mustang owner, and he was telling me how like some dude saw his car, some celebrity saw his car on Instagram, and he like invited him out to a track just to see what his car would do. And he said that he was driving around the track, and then there was Lambos and Ferraris, and he was like kind of keeping up with them, and then they would stop and they would just let him go. And they were like, hey, like, dude, like, why'd you bring that heavy ass car here to this track? Like, we scared, so we're pulling over. We're getting out of the way of this American muscle here. True story. It's just an awesome experience having something a little bit different, you know. It's as Koreans would say, it's 너무 특이하고 멋있어요. I enjoy having a car out here. I want another Mustang. I really like my Mustang. It's not the ideal place to have it, but I'm like waiting for the next generation. I want to see what they got. I really like it, and I know some people listening are like, well, what about the Skylines? What about the R35? And they were all fun too. I want to make another video about that, like which car I liked the most and why I liked it. But this car is just, you know, for the price you pay for this car, the power you get, and the fact that it's 4 years old and it can still hang with sometimes some exotic cars, you know. It'll smoke a lot of BMWs. So it's just a great value. It's kind of losing that crashing the crowds meme. I have seen videos with this specific model doing it, but it's just a nice car, nice package, very attractive car. It's not offensive to the eyes. It looks good for generally most angles. So I do want to talk about how in the future how I imported this car, how I got the Skyline here and all that. I'll go into detail because I've been rambling too long in this video, but I really wanted to talk to you guys. I enjoy talking. I'm stuck in traffic still, almost at the highway where I can finally let this beast out a little bit and open up the gas pedal, because yeah, it's like I'm cruising at like 15 to 30 miles per hour here. It's kind of sucks to be honest. And once again, excuse me for talking so slow and rambling. It's just that gotta actually drive, you know, while I'm talking. Anyways, thanks for watching. It was always fun talking with you guys. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. And have a nice day. And don't forget to subscribe.